There you go.
All right.
Okay, guys, clean it up. You're going out on YouTube live now.
So yes, we started about a minute and a half ago, and have already done the pledge for those of you who are watching on YouTube or watching this meeting later. Don't think we missed it. We had the pledge going. All right. Well, I guess we'll get started with our membership report. Glenn, you want to talk to us about membership levels?
Sure. So at the moment, we have 168 members. And since, well, I'll start with the last five new members. We've got Bill Barber, KM Kilo Mike 6 Delta Kilo Yankee, who joined on 1026.
You want to talk?
Jim Wasson, I saw you on here earlier, new join on Kilo 2 Victor Oscar, joined on the 28th of October. Hank, you've already met. Visser, KG6ZTN, who joined on the 13th. Larry Biggs, I think I saw a picture of you on here. K6IET, and he joined on the 14th. And the last one was Chris Carlson, KN6GUZ, who joined on the 22nd. I believe he also said that he's an electrical engineer. So two new electrical engineers on the group now. And that's all I've got.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. And that was AJ6IT, Steve, right? You said IET, Glenn, I think.
For Larry Biggs.
Oh, Larry was someone else?
Yeah, when I first saw the application, I think it was in Tom. What's his name? His call sign ends in IET. So
that's what I was thinking.
Do double check.
So
yeah, I think I'm a new member as well. A month or two ago, I joined.
Okay, I might have mentioned you last month.
Okay.
When we had it. So welcome, Steve. Nice to meet you face to face.
Welcome to all the new members and current members alike. Fantastic. Thank you all for being here. Okay. Anything else, Glenn, for membership?
No, I think that's it. We have, I don't know, Joe, do you want to talk about the PayPal and the annual payment thing yet?
I mean, I can mention it, but it's not really official yet, even though
I have a feeling it's available there because 2 people have now used it.
2, maybe 3, yeah. So I was poking around within PayPal to see if we could figure out how to make the membership automatic renewal thing work. And I didn't think I'd published it anywhere, but now 2 people have signed up with automatic renewals on an annual basis for their dues through PayPal. So great. They found it. I'm not quite sure how. So
the challenge for me is that if someone does that, then they don't get run through the 20 questions. That gives me a chance to review your address, your phone number. Am I up to date on information about you? So that's what Joe and we'll have to finish working out, and I'm willing to help Joe.
Okay, great. Thank you. So yeah, we are working on that so that you don't get these harassment from Glenn. It just automatically happens. PayPal will tell you ahead of time, hey, we're about to take out your annual membership dues for Palomar Amateur Radio Club. And, it's more of it's not a reminder to do it. It's a reminder that if you don't want to do it, you have to do something. So that's nice for those who are planning on continuing to be members and just don't want to risk forgetting it. Okay, great. Anything else, Glenn? Okay. If you have any questions or comments for Glenn, he can be reached at membershipchair@palomararc.org. And the whole board is board@palomararc.org. Mark, I'll put you on the spot next for repeater site and technical.
Okay, well, let's see. John and I went up there, 2 weeks ago now, John?
Yeah, that's about right.
Anyway, and John, I'll let him do his part, playing with 6-meter, and mine was running around making voltage and current measurements. on all of the radios, and that's in the I forget, I think I put it in W6 and WG, but it may just be in the technical chair area. So basically showing how much each of the repeaters draws. The couple things that we learned that was kind of interesting, the enormous linear power supply on the Tijuana repeater system, the Mexican repeater, is drawing pretty much more power than everything else combined, all the other radios and power supplies combined. The other thing we found out is our own switchers. For those of you who don't know, we have a 48-volt battery bank. We convert the 115 volts to 48. The battery bank uses 1,380 amp hour 2.2 volt cells strung in series to get our 48 volts. It was actually an AT&T battery bank that was used that was planned. It was never implemented to carry the switching system for a city the size of Escondido. And it carries our repeat. It floats. It hasn't as much internal loss as our puny little repeaters draw. But our switching power supplies, even though we think they're efficient, are our biggest power drain. The repeater, and I can go into it with people later, but basically the repeaters don't draw diddly. When they're asleep or just receiving, they only draw about 2-3 watts each. And of course, when they're transmitting, add the transmit power to that. And the receiver wakes up and everything else. All the boards wake up. But we don't draw a whole heck of a lot. John, do you want to talk about 6 meter?
Okay. I've had quite a few problems with it because of problems with the SCOM controller. The SCOM controller has 3 channels. We used the 3rd channel for the 6 meter repeater initially, and it took a dump. It died a horrible death and caused all kinds of distortion and bad audio and things like that, which wasn't clear as to where the bad audio was coming from until I got it back down on the hill, off the hill. So anyway, Ron, K2RP, gave me some replacement repeaters, controllers, and I reprogrammed the ideas and put them all together with external circuitry. So that
Thank you.
at some time in the future, we can then take and plug it back into the SCOM controller, and we'll go back to our normal control functions. So anyway, long story short, the 6 meter repeater is up and running. I've checked it from time to time for the last few weeks, and it's no problem at all. It talks back to me. It identifies. It's got a little bit of unsquelched audio bleed through, but from all appearances, the audio is clear when it's got a good COR signal, carrier operated relay. So that's the 6 meter 52.16 or 18 5268 repeater. Okay.
Okay. Anything else? Anything else, Mark?
No, I think that's enough trouble for right now.
Okay. Thank you for that. I forgot about this bit because we were all introducing during the pre-meetings stuff, but I see several more people have joined now. So new first-time visitors, go ahead and introduce yourselves. Name, call sign, where you're from. We'll start with Hank because he was on here earlier, and then we'll go around.
All right. Hey, everybody. My name is Hank Visser, and I'm an electrical engineer doing a lot of medical device design work. I live in the Del Sur area, and just thought it'd be fun to join your guys' group. So I'm a member now, and love to get connected with you guys and work on projects or whatever you guys are up to. So thanks for having me, and I'm really excited about being here.
Great. Thanks, Hank. Any other first time in the meeting, new members? No? Okay. All right. Anybody besides Hank, brand new hams, just got your license or license upgrades? Hey, Hank, did you do the virtual through GLARG test?
Talk about forgetting my license.
Yeah.
I've had my license for a while, just wasn't really that active. So
Got it. Okay.
This was like years back I got it. Yep.
Okay. Well, if you're interested in upgrading, Greater Los Angeles Area Amateur Radio Group, GLARG, is doing online testing via Zoom. So online proctored exams for new technician and for license upgrades. So check them out. I believe they're charging $15 for their VEC fee right now.
Okay.
For the exam, but
what's the group? Los Angeles. Would you say it again, please?
Greater Los Angeles Area Amateur Radio. Glenn, you want to?
Yes, you had it.
Okay.
Greater Los Angeles Area Amateur Radio Group. So GLARG, if you want to phoneticize it.
Got it. Okay, I'll check it out. Do
Yeah.
you guys do any testing at all? Are you guys doing any virtual testing? Probably doesn't sound like
several of us, several of the members here, including Glenn, are participating in GLARG's online testing. We are not currently doing any testing. Nobody is doing in-person testing these days because of COVID and all that we have to deal with.
Actually, apparently there are a couple of people still doing in-person tests.
Oh.
I've seen them announced on the GLARG bulletin board. I think one of the people was out in Lakeside, but I don't know whether that changed because we are now in the purple zone again.
Right. Okay. All right. So if you know anyone who needs to get their tech or you want to get an upgrade, check out the online virtual testing opportunities that exist. Great.
Thank you.
Let's see. Do we check out the scope that came out yesterday? Apologize for its late distribution, but glad everybody is here anyways. There are some items that came from the Escondido group that they wanted to advertise, so we've put some for sale items in there. And we got some other items that have been donated that we'll have probably in next month's scope, information about those. There's also a recap of our auction in the scope, so check that out. There's some good information there. Let's see.
Is the scope on the website, or where is that? Where can I find that?
Oh, you know what? I haven't put the link on the website yet for this month. It will be there probably by the time the meeting is over.
I see. But usually what happens, you email it out to the members? Yeah,
it gets emailed out, and we can get your email address added to that if you would like. And actually there's I think there's a sign up right if you go to newsletters on the website, subscribe to the scope notice mailing list. Yeah, and then there's a form to fill out. Yeah.
Got it. I see it there. Thank you.
I think that works. So send me an email once you've done it, president@palomararc.org, and I'll check and make sure that it went to the right place, because we changed our email listserv a little while ago, and this may be a straggler that didn't get updated. Okay, I see we have Kevin with us. I don't see Michelle, so I will turn the meeting over now to Kevin Walsh, KK6FRK, who is our nominating committee chair for our elections. Take it away, Kevin.
All right, welcome everybody. Before we get started, I wanted to thank everybody that has participated in the board in the past. In particular, John, WB6IQS, Joe, KB6MNK, Tom, W0NA, I don't see him on this evening, and Greg, KI6RXX. And so what I'm going to do is just, if you refer to the current issue of Scope, you'll see that the slate is posted there. We announced it last meeting, and I'm going to tell you the people. Hold on. And so Joe Peterson has remained on the slate as president. Carly Risticelli has remained on the slate as vice president. Jim Watson is on the slate as the new treasurer. Jim Collier is on the slate as the new secretary. Ron Garrison is on the slate as director number 1. And Chris Steinhardt is on the slate as director number 2. We've doubled the salary of the president, doubled the salary of the vice president, and we've given the treasurer and the secretary and director number 1 and director number 2 bonuses to be determined on the amount. This is all we're asking for is a vote of acclamation, which just means acceptance of the non-opposed slate. And on the remuneration for the new board members, as I was told by one of my professors, Jeffrey Case, who developed the SNMP protocol and wrote the standard for the simple network management protocol. Sometimes when you get something for nothing, it's worth twice that much. So I'm going to move that we go ahead and if it's within my purview, that we just do a vote of acclamation for the unopposed slate and move forward to 2021. Back to you, Joe.
Yep, that is your power, and I would just like a hand raise or an aye from those who agree.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
All right.
All right.
So,
Kevin, the motion carries.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. And I want to really thank the new people. We have, 4 new people that have, this is really a nice development, is we have 4 new people, including new club members, that are moving into, to help out the club moving forward, especially during COVID, where we have to go virtual like what we're doing right now. And I am looking forward to the virtual handshake visits. We did some of that during the Boy Scout Jamboree on the Air. In particular, Mike, NA6MB, has a really swanky ham shack, and he helped out. While I got the floor, we are preparing for Kids Day, which is the first weekend in January. I know that Steve has come, AG6IT has come in the past. We do this in Old Poway Park. So if any of the other folks that are, in the meeting right now, and I'm going to send out some more email later on, what we do is we set up an operating station in farmers markets. And then we ask the kids to come and talk to Santa on the radio, to ask Santa about why they didn't get what they asked for Christmas. And we have some very meaningful philosophical exchanges with the kids. So if you want to help out with Kids Day, please contact me, KK6FRK. Back to you, Joe.
All right, great. Thank you, Kevin. And thank you to Kevin and to Michelle, who doesn't look like she's here, for serving on the nominating committee and putting together that slate. I am super excited to have fresh blood. I mean, new ideas to come to the board, like Kevin said. Great. And as Kevin mentioned, yeah, this is a time for those of you who are maybe sitting in your ham shacks, or have the ability to get there easily, or swing your camera around. show us what you got. Like the December meeting is typically our social. We usually get together in the meeting room and have refreshments and cake and cookies and just sit around and chit chat. So this is a time to show off your stuff that we don't normally get a chance to see, and just chat, socialize. That's all the December meeting really is. So Mark, do you want to kick us off? I know you've got some stuff laying around. Put you on the spot.
Pardon me, Greg?
Can we maybe have the new board members introduce themselves? Background, where they came from? Be curious to know. I don't think I've met any of them, to be honest.
Sure. Any that are, what do you got there? Oh, Richard is showing is that your new trailer hitch antenna?
You're muted, Rich. There you go.
I made a new 30-foot tower. So when we have our field day next year, we'll have it.
Fantastic.
Okay, very cool. You need to talk to either John or me to make sure that we can take optimum advantage of it.
I will.
Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. We got caught pretty flat-footed last year.
Okay.
Well, okay, this is the part where everybody gets to play. If anybody wants to go first, fine. If not, I grabbed 2 pictures of my lab, which right at the moment is all torn to shreds, but it looks pretty good in the pictures. So
Wow.
if you guys want to see that, you're welcome to. Otherwise, who else?
As one of the new ham members, I'd like to show you my new ham shack.
Sure. Please, Charlie.
Well, a little background for everybody. As many of you know, as a new ham who's been on the ham bands for 50 years, I consider my ham shack to be quite respectable. All bands, all modes, multiple radios. Just many of you wish you had a ham shack like that. And it's allowed me the pleasure of working 257 entities in the DXCC world. And as of last week, as I move forward in my new chapter of life, the ham shack has disappeared, and now my ham shack is right here.
So you got an Anytone, and what's the other one, Charlie?
Yaesu FT60R, the best handheld that's available. My ham shack disappeared. All of the material that I had was sold in 1 week. And on a weekend, I opened the ham shack to the Poway hams, and they cleared the rest of the ham shack out. So I am officially no longer on HF. I'm moving to a retirement community. I tried to get them to allow me to put my 65-foot tower at the community, but they didn't really understand what ham radio is all about. And so from now on, you'll hear me on VHF, and I'm taking on the task, something I know the technology of, which is remote transceiver operation. But I've never operated that way. And to continue getting some DXCC new ones, I'm going to learn a lot about the remote operation of transceivers all over the world. London, Moscow, Quebec, Argentina. Should be a lot of fun, and it'll be fun learning it. That's about what I'm going to be doing for ham radio. Merry Christmas, all.
Charlie, what was the model number again of the radio? FT6, you said?
The FT60, Foxtrot Tango 60 Romeo.
Copy that.
It is one of the most well distributed amateur radios in the world.
That's my go-to radio as well.
And it is simple to program. You don't hang around changing frequencies to repeaters every day. So after 2 years, somebody tells you, this is the frequency, this is the offset, and it's intuitive. Instead of having to read a Chinglish manual or what used to be a Japlish manual.
I got a couple of them for my grandkids when they got their licenses. So when it's 60, that's a very solid radio. Yeah.
Yep. I've got the FT60 right here, and then John will recognize this guy, the FT2.
There's the 2. I love the 2. I'm sorry, I still love that too.
Oh, and the first thing you do on these HTs, of course, is replace the antenna.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, and by the way, stay away from this. The anytone has to be one of the most complicated, relatively useless handheld transceiver that's ever shown up on the market. And at $400 a copy, you got a great radio.
Hey, Joe, I've got that diamond antenna, the 77CA. Is that what you've got?
Yes.
Yep.
That's the one.
77CA.
Thank you.
Yep, on both of them.
Yeah, I have it on both of my 2s.
Thank you,
Charlie.
I think it's on.
Charlie, are you going to hang around on 7.3 a little bit more now so we can talk to you?
Well, nobody ever seems to be on 7.3, but I'm on the Mount Woodson repeater, which is probably the most used repeater in San Diego County.
Oh yeah, and a reminder: there
are you
nets
still
that
trying
happen
to do
on.
Some digital?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, John.
Well, I was asking if you're going to try to do more digital now. You can't do it on that little unit. Are you going to try to use something else?
I don't have any capability for HF.
Yeah.
Much to my disappointment, since we're starting one of the greatest solar cycles that anybody has ever seen.
No, you used to have a gorgeous shack. I love that shack of yours. That was beautiful.
I listened to a net on the Woodson repeater last Monday night as Eric, NC6F, extolled what happened on the HF bands last weekend, and it was like somebody ripping my heart out.
Well, hopefully the remote will work for you, Charlie, and you'll still be able to get up there.
Yeah, it'll be a while.
Joe, I have a favor to ask. Is the official club meeting over? I'm not going to bother taking any more notes then.
Yeah, the official part is done. That's what we need is that the election happened.
One last comment.
I was just saying it's over for John as far as his note taking.
I have one last comment.
Okay, go ahead, Charlie.
For the official meeting. Next month's program.
Oh, yes.
Will be a presentation on how antennas are designed. It will be given by NA6RS, Randy Stanke, who presented his practical solar RFI chasing antenna. And he's going to discuss the mechanisms that are involved in designing an antenna and how you go about it.
What's his call sign again?
November Alpha 6, Romeo Sierra. His name is Randy.
All right.
And when is that? That's the next meeting you said, Charlie?
So that is Wednesday, January 6th at 19:30 Pacific.
Charlie, are you talking about Randy Stanke?
Yes.
KQ6RS.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah. Kilo Quebec 6, Romeo Sierra.
Charlie, this is Mark. I pulled up a picture of your shack from the IOOK website.
Yes.
And I can present it if you want to go over it. If you don't want to, that's fine.
Yeah, I can do that. If somebody, this is what used to be. It'll make me very happy. It'll make me smile.
as someone who spent a whole lot of time there, you know, it was
Yeah.
something to behold.
Well, I don't
Tell
know if
us
I
the story,
can.
Charlie.
Do you see the pointer?
No, but I can, if you request control,
No,
I can point for you, either one.
I can explain it. Lower right hand, lower left hand corner, there's a
Okay.
large black box.
Wait, call
In
me.
the lower left hand corner of the desk, lower, right. That-
Why didn't you just say the alpha linear?
Well, because some people may not know what a linear is amongst the
Yeah,
new
but I
hands.
do.
You
I would have
do,
pointed
but-
to it.
Oh,
right there.
okay, well, that's an alpha 89 linear. There's a Yaesu Fox Tango 5000 FT 5000 MP right there, all band HF 6-meter transceiver, likely, arguably, the best transceiver on the market back in 2012. And to this day, its performance capabilities almost match anything when operated with free software. That's November Alpha Papa 3. The monitor on the left, right above it, is a full SDR presentation, software-defined receiver operated by the FT5000, and it controls the 5000. And of course, that's because Yaesu, actually you can do this with any radio. You can tap off the IF stream and do some black magic converting the IF stream into a oh, my mind is breaking down. Anyway, into a stream through a sound card that can then be processed as an SDR. Screen on the right is Ham Radio Deluxe, which is my logging program. This picture is an old ham shack. There's a Heathkit Hotel Whiskey 8 just to the left of that flat panel right there. That was the first kit I ever built. Built it in 1973, and it's a 2.5 watt CW only, ham band only transceiver that I used when I was in command of a Navy ship. Transiting up and down the oceans. I operated Maritime Mobile and had a ball. And when I came to Poway, you see it there. The back end of that is a 4-element Yagi stepper antenna that really helped work DX with 2.5 watts. Those things up there are some of the ancillary things that make some of this magic operate. Then there's the Heathkit SB104A, which was the first solid state transceiver that Heathkit marketed. And I built that, and has an interesting history behind it. And then adjacent to it is its power supply. Underneath that is a Yaesu FT920. And that radio has vanished from here a long time ago, and was eventually replaced by a Flex. And I found the Flex so anti-intuitive that I got rid of it. And I replaced it with a ELAD, Echo Lima Alpha Delta, Foxtrot Delta Mike -2 solid state software defined receiver, and its accompanying final that gave me 120 watts of an SDR with one of the most intuitive software human interfaces that I've ever seen on the radio. Made in Italy, designed like the Italians design. I don't have a picture of it here, but that was a lot of fun. So with all of that gear, I had that gear or things I replaced it with. I had 22 years of phenomenal ham radio operation in the city of Poway, including having had the pleasure of getting the city to approve the easiest antenna ordinance in the state of California.
You might
Hey.
want to mention that you started with a no antennas in the city.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, so you got that one turned around. That was impressive.
That was a 4-year political battle that we won handedly with cooperation from all the amateur radio operators we could muster in San Diego County. Totally non-confrontational issue with the city. The hams overcame strong opposition from the real estate lobby, strong opposition from neighborhoods that thought that ham radio caused cancer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we won that one hands down with a unanimous approval by the city council. Oh, by the way, we did it in such a way that we hams wrote the antenna ordinance they approved. So if it's ham friendly, the San Diego County hams did that.
Yeah. Hey, Charlie, I was going to mention that you already commented that this was a very old picture, but I was going to say, yeah, I already know it's an old picture because that monitor on the lower right is in my shack now.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
Hey, it was all I could do with 5 seconds warning.
Thank you, Mark. And
But I
thank you,
knew
Charlie.
it would be on the IOOK website.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for letting me share that and share some of my ham radio experience, which is probably the greatest experience I've ever had in a hobby friendship environment.
Thanks, Charlie.
Well, and you're, it's not like you're going anywhere. So,
No.
You're just not quite on the frequencies that you were on before.
Yeah, well, of course, we all know where we're going, but that's a different subject.
Yeah. On the subject of, and yes, Mark, I see that. We'll get to that in a minute.
We don't have to. It was just underneath.
Okay.
I can close it.
On the subject, Charlie, of having meetings with people and political stuff, we have moved into an HOA here in Palm Desert, and I sent a message to the HOA just saying, hey, introducing myself and yada, yada, emergency preparedness, emergency communications. And they actually responded back and said, we want to have a chat with you. So
Excellent.
I have my HOA actually asking to talk to me about amateur radio and emergency
Fantastic.
preparedness and,
Yeah.
and such.
Yeah, yes, that's a
So-
great way to start. And
Congratulations.
yeah,
well,
congratulations.
We'll see what happens.
Well,
so-
I can tell you a little bit of a different of something you can do to assure success.
Okay.
I live in an HOA. When I moved to Poway, I recognized that the HOA had issues with antennas. The first thing I did, I erected an R9 vertical, 45 feet tall, clearly visible from 360 degrees around my house. And it was up, well, it's still up, was still up till last Saturday. No one ever saw that antenna.
Yep.
So after a year of happily operating, I did something dangerous. I volunteered for the HOA board. And I spent 3 years on the board. And over that period, I invited board members to my home. And after some liquid refreshment, copiously provided, I would tell them, hey, do you know anything about emergency communications? And Well, let me show you something. And I take them down to the ham shack and I'd work some DX. And they were just astounded. And they said, well, what? So I told them, follow me. And I take them out to the backyard and there sat that 45-foot vertical antenna. And they'd say, we never saw that before. And I said to them, well, then after doing that for 3 years, I requested permission to put my antennas up and it was granted immediately.
Nice. Nice.
Then I have to deal with power.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Charlie. So we had a request from one of our members, Greg, to hear something about some of our new board members. So I wonder if I can put a couple of you that are here on the spot. Jim, K2VO, are you willing to chat with us for a few minutes and just tell us a little bit about your background? And you are our new treasurer.
Yes. Yeah. I guess my name is Jim Wasson, and I've been a ham for probably close to 20 years, but I haven't really done much in the last 10 years. I originally got into it because we did a lot of off-road travel, and it came in very handy back then. I retired in 2013. I live in Oceanside now, and wanted to start to get back into ham radio. Last year, I started to get back into it a little bit. I don't have a decent ham shack. Basically, I've got a couple of ICOM radios. They're mobiles, the old 714 and 706 Mark IIG, and a Yaesu 8900 and an IC 5000 ICOM. So I need to pull them out and get them set up. I'm not sure what I can hit from here, and I live in a community. I have seen one antenna up, but I'm not sure what the HOA what the HOA does with them here. So hopefully I can get something put up this year. I just moved into this place a couple months ago, so everything is still kind of in boxes out in the garage and scattered throughout the house. But I'm retired. I was a computer programmer for, since the mid 80s. So I did an awful lot of that. I did a lot of embedded work with Intel 8051s. I worked at Cubic. I did fare collection machines for places like Hong Kong, Sydney, Australia, New York. After that, I worked for a company called Moro Technologies. They did pretty much custom work for the government, a lot of signal processing equipment, things like that. I did a little ham demodulation work for them with those radios. Yeah, right now I'm big into computer security. I've been doing that for about 10 years. I have a lot of interest in that, programming. I've been doing what's called capture the flag competitions, if anyone's familiar with that. Those are just hacking competitions, basically. And now I want to get back into ham radio, and I hope to contribute because I think it's a great hobby. I'd like to see it to grow and continue because I think it offers a lot of benefits. Got a couple of grandkids, want to get them involved. One of them's 7. So I think he's just about the right age to start getting him hooked. And yeah, I hope I can contribute to the club and help it grow.
Great. Thank you, Jim.
Hey, Jim, real quick question. This is stupid and personal. Do you live in Oceana?
I do.
I recognize the closet and the wall behind you. They're just like mine.
Yeah,
thank you.
Appreciate probably 1,000 units in here. All the same.
You were in 3 South.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm over in, what is it, 9? Over by the golf course, right across the street from the golf course. So.
Okay. Yo, sorry, Joe, I couldn't resist.
Yeah, no worries. No worries at all. Fantastic. Thank you for that. And welcome to the board, and glad to have you aboard. Haha.
Thanks.
All right. And then Ron, AJ6 FQ, as one of our new directors.
Sure. First of all, thanks everyone. Appreciate the opportunity to contribute a little more. I'm actually a relatively new ham. I got my license 2 years ago, but I got my commercial FCC radio telephone license. It was a first class back then, over 40 years ago. I was started out my career as an RF engineer. Had the opportunity to design the entire uplink station for a company called Equatorial Communications. Their real claim to fame is they were the first company in the U.S., first private entity in the U.S. authorized to use spread spectrum communications. The Defense Department was real sensitive about it back then. We were using it because we were doing VSAT setup in C-band, where we had little 2-foot dishes that with a 2-foot dish that you're basically looking at 3 different satellites at a time. And so there was a bit of an interference problem there. So we were using it we were sticking, doing high-speed data stuff, 9.6 kilobits a second, 19.2 kilobits per second, with multiple channels per that. So did that for a few years and been doing telecommunications most of my career. Finally, never got my ham license because the code part was just too hard and I couldn't stick to it and learn code. They've dropped the requirement for that a few years ago. So I, like I said, got my ham license a couple years ago and been very actively involved with Aries. And Charlie's talking about doing something with using that for your ham shack. I've been doing once a month the Aries Thursday night San Diego net. That's I live up in Rancho Peñasquitos near Black Mountain. Repeaters all the way down in Otay, and have no trouble doing net control with a little FD60 with a good diamond antenna on it. You work with what you've got. Hoping to add more stuff to my ham shack in the future, but it works for now. And again, it helps a lot with the volunteer work I've been doing. I had not been able to attend as many of the PARC meetings in the last few months because my work schedule had conflicted with it, but I've started a new job that guarantees I've got evenings free now, which is nice. And so looking forward to getting back to the meetings if they are virtually. And if anybody has any questions, go for it.
The VE too.
Yes.
Oh yeah, Joe.
VE with Joe.
Been working with Joe. At least we used to. I'm hoping we're going to get to do that again someday because online just isn't the same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
In fact,
Well, thanks, Ron, and welcome aboard. I don't see the other new members, the other Jim or Chris. I don't see their names on here, so we'll hope to get a little blurb about them maybe in the January scope, or maybe they can join the next meeting. All right. Any other tours? Anybody want to show off or talk about their equipment? Or sure, Mike, go ahead.
We'll show you if you want.
Yeah.
Should I do it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, we'll turn this around. So we'll give you an overview. It's kind of the shack looks like today. Go through some of the gear we got here. Of course, everybody's got printers and computers. We got DX maps running here. Here's
This is a 2-operator shack too.
Well, yeah, we got 3 computer setups. We got my computer, Ham computer, Gail's computer. So, you know, we got a little power, our computer power here. So anyway, got a watt meter antenna switch up there. Our stack, VHF stack. So the top is 6 meters. The middle one's dual bander on 440. The bottom one's a dual bander on 2 meters. Got a kilowatt antenna tuner, and that blue thing is DC power control. Ham Radio Deluxe running on the computer here. We got an ELAD, we got an IC 7000. A relatively new acquisition is this baby here, which is FTDX 5000 that came from a local.
I really like to see that, Mike. I'm glad to see it's getting used.
You know the local ham it came from, so there he is. Then let's see. Oh, down here we got the amplifier. Got a 1500 watt Alpha 87 linear, 160 through 10. And then over here we got speaker, stepper controller, and the top one is for sound interface to the radio, the 5000. Rotator for the stepper and the tower. And then we got our stuff on the top here. We got a cool little tube that we picked up and put that on. There's a early picture of Gail and I, Christmas decorations, grandkids. And oh yes, Baby Yoda. There you go. That's it. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Mike and Gail. All right.
Well, it's great to have an extra class ham operator as wife too, because you just go, oh, I think we should get a new radio. That's great. What kind?
Hey, Mike, I'm curious on what your antenna setup is there at the house. You got this huge tower in the backyard, or how are you dealing with that?
Yeah, we got a 55-foot US tower, MA550 with a stepper on top, 65 feet. The limit now for Poway. We raised it. It used to be 35 feet, and you had to go through all this paperwork to get, which Gail did, but she had to keep it at 35 feet. And then when the ordinance passed, we cranked it up to 55 feet. There's also a VHF, UHF vertical on top of that. We have an 80 meter, it covers 6 through 40. So it's a pretty good antenna. It's a really good antenna. We have an 80 meter dipole. We got a 160 meter inverted L. We got an R7 vertical. And then we also have a lower down on the house. We have another dual band 220, 440, 2 meter 440 antenna, 6 meter halo. I got a VHF stack with a 4 or 5 element 440 and 440 2 meter dual band beam and a 6 meter 4 element beam. What else we got? That's about it. That's about it.
And when we get through COVID, come on over and visit in person.
Hank,
Yes.
if you ever are in Poway and you drive by a house that looks like a porcupine, that's their house.
Okay. I'll be looking out for that. Now, what about the cabinetry? Was that like a custom woodworking, or did you guys already have a pre-existing cabinet that you kind of adapted?
The desk is totally custom. We got it about 6 months ago. We had a desk that we kept at. It was an office furniture type desk, so you could get different modules, corner modules, and filing cabinets and so on. But we kept adding to it. None of the pieces were actually the same color. Some of them faded, and the company changed their finish a little bit over the year. They made some of the corners didn't fit because they were an inch wider than they used to be. They changed their design a little bit. So we finally said, all right, we're getting it custom made. So I don't know if you saw that. Let's see if I can get this again. But this amp down here, that slot, all this stuff was designed. So this column anyway was designed. So I had a spot to shove papers in that you can't see, a drawer, and a space for this amp. So, and then over here, we kind of did the same thing. There's 2 shelves over there. And then the file cabinet that we had before was replaced. So yeah, we had this custom made. It was a great experience to get it designed and put in, and all keyboard trays. They're all the same. The 2 identical monitors for the ham PC. So they're 2 24-inch monitors. I was gonna get some 22s and put them in there, and the guy working on our cabinet said, well, how wide is it? I said, well, I'm going to make the space for 22s. I don't think no, you got to go bigger than that. So I got a couple of 24s. I still got big enough space to go to 26 if I can. A little bit running out of vertical space probably, but.
And he did these stacks, and then
right. We made the stacks for the shelves here. they're they're changeable.
They could go
So,
up or
and
down an inch.
But we told them, we want them this wide because 2 radios of this size will fit in side by side, and then the tuner had to fit in, had to be wide enough for the tuner. Things like that were all worked out with the carpenter, and it took probably 3 months for him to get the specs. And he came and talked to us a couple of times and took photos, and we gave him measurements of all the gear that we had. And
we call him our wood nerd.
Wood nerd, yeah.
Yeah, I may have to get that person's phone number to call him up. Hey, what's your preferred band? Is it 2 meter, or what are you usually working with all that stuff over there?
Well, it depends on if you're talking about HF or VHF. We have 3 nets a week that we run on VHF and UHF. So these radios over on the side here, the UHF stack is pretty busy. We monitor it all the time. I usually have one 4518 and the other Woodson 440 repeater, 449 240, I think is a Woodson also. And then I don't know if you noticed the ICOMs on 146.73. That happens to be on the beam on the VHF stack, beam stack. But on HF, probably I like 18 and 20.
Wow, that's awesome. So I just have another question. Is this strictly your ham area, or are you working at that area too? You got like some business, that room that you're in now, is that strictly only ham radio?
No, it's well, like I said, we have three stations. So there's my computer. I do my email there. This one's strictly for ham in the middle here. And over here's Gail, that she does all her email and stuff on. Gail's really involved with the state, like educational organizations, retired teachers mostly, and things like that. So she does a lot of work with that. And the garden club, we both belong to the garden club. So we do, I don't know your pictures off, but she had on her screen, she had one of her hobbies, which is Bladdercerium ferns. So that's one of the other things we do. We have a greenhouse and a hothouse. So, and then Gail also does rose. I work on the ferns with her, but she does the roses mostly by herself.
So we stay very busy, and we are both retired, and we have no idea how we had time for
work.
Career.
Yeah.
He's the engineer.
Yeah, software engineer for 35 years.
So thanks for asking.
Yeah, interesting.
All right.
So you guys don't drive each other nuts side by side the whole day, huh? I think me and my wife would be like, ah.
No, the only time it gets testy is like there's some rare new DX that I want to work, and it's like, no, I get to work.
Yeah, I got the headphones on. I said, yeah, 7.3. Thank you for the QSO. And she said, who was that? Who was that?
All right.
We're both members of the San Diego DX Club, SDDXC, and you can find them on the net too. But you have to be a full member. You have to have DXCC, which is worked and confirmed 100 countries. So
when we start meeting again, if you ever want to come to a meeting as our guest, we'd be very delighted.
Yeah. Goes to anybody out there that wants to go.
Yeah, any of you. Any and every of you.
It's basically an HF radio group, though. They don't do VHF.
Great. Awesome. Thanks again, Mike and Gail, for that tour, and Hank for the questions. That's great interaction. Any other want to show off your setup or have questions for other members or something you want to talk about?
I'll show one. I think you can see it. That's a picture of my shack, which is out in the garage. So when it's hot, I don't want to go out there. When it's cold, I don't want to go out there. And next to my desk here in the living room is, as everyone else, an FT60. And that's about it. And I find myself being really busy with being the membership chair for the Palomar Club and doing web support and other stuff for the DX Club, more than getting on the radio.
Hey, Glenn, on that handheld radio you have there, is antenna fit out through outside, or how are you doing that?
Yeah, I have a Moxon antenna up on the peak of the roof, and so I feed it out through there.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to get something like that going.
All right,
Well,
great.
Joe,
And by the
you
way,
asked-
Jim, K2VO, you mentioned off-road, so I have to.
There you go. Yeah, I actually had one of the first Rubicons in San Diego County. Bought
Oh,
it
nice.
in 2003. So
Okay.
unfortunately, my son has it right now. So
Hopefully he's making some use of it.
oh yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, this is a 2009. Started out as a Rubicon, but there's not much that was original Rubicon left on it.
Yeah.
It's all been upgraded. So.
Yeah. There you go. Great vehicle. Lots of fun.
Well, Joe, you asked to see the lab, but
All right, go for it, Mark.
There's not much hammy about it.
That's still a lot of technological people in this group that would appreciate hearing it.
I refer to it as the sandbox because that's where I like to go play. There's 2 benches. It's not custom made laboratory. It's they're plain old 3x6 foot dual height ESD benches. This one's my soldering, rework, and assembly area. So there's the main trinocular microscope, LED illuminator, fume hood, couple of lights. This here is the Weller WX2 rework station. These are hot tweezers for getting, I've done down to 201s. People are not allowed in the lab when I'm doing 201s or 402s because I tend to create a lot of flowery language. But bigger than that, and people can be around. Of course, a micro tip iron, as you can see, I've ran a lot through it. And then, of course, this is the WR3000 soldering rework station with a vacuum sucker, a hot pencil, or hot air, which is great for doing shrink tubing, by the way, and a large iron. And of course, this is the Weller hot plate that you're not seeing to the left of all this, but my rework bench is always a mess. Just some spare parts, lights. I needed something, so there's a plant because it needed a plant. Anyways, rework station's always a mess. Right after this was shot, this whole area got cleared up here, and that became UV curable adhesive station. Then as far as the electronics bench is concerned, John, that is wires X right there. That, and there's the little link, the power supply, and underneath it is the, that's actually an Alien MX-18R2. Then we've got general purpose bench supplies. This one is what I refer, the antenna. It's got a little disc cone for the for wires X. This little power supply is what I refer to as a management agreement device. You'll notice it's 0 to 5 kilovolts. And what you do is you hook it up between the chair and the table, and then you have your boss come in. And if he disagrees, you just keep turning it up until he agrees with you. Let me see. This one's kind of fun.
I need to get one of those.
Pardon me?
I was just joking. I was like, I need to get one of those for my boss.
Oh yeah, I used to have when I worked at General Dynamics on weapon systems, I used to have a 10 kV because those guys have a thicker skin. The military types. This is a 3450. Let's see, 3458, which is a 8.5 digit DMM for when you really want to know the answer. And I thought it was really cute because right next to it, this yellow thing is a Harbor Freight Tools 3.5 digit DMM. So this is $3, except I used to get them for free if you buy anything else. And this is about 15K. Then underneath it, that's a LaCroix DC to 6 gigahertz digital storage scope with high-speed digitizers.
Is that a
The
floppy slot?
Yes, it is.
Wow.
They, you know, the scope isn't brand new, but it was all I could afford. It's touchscreen, and 6 gigahertz is just all like, you know, it's 20 gig a sample. So it works like, you know, it's great. It serves everything I need.
Just wondering how you read the floppies.
I've never used the floppy disk drive. I've got Ethernet plugged into the back. I've got Ethernet plugged into the back of it, and down on the bottom, it's got a USB port. And I use that. So this is a Siglet dual channel DC to, I forget what it is, arbitrary waveform generator. Good old Amazon Alexa up there, so I know what time it is. This is a RLC bridge, and right now it's running down to Kelvin tweezers on the bench. This scope, not many people recognize, but that is a cool scope because sometimes digital scopes are asleep between traces, and this is really handy. This is what Philip/Fluke came up. It's an auto ranging combination scope. You push that button and it becomes an analog scope, push it again, and it becomes a digital storage scope with FFT. Then all of the probes have dual buttons on them. One of them tells you which probe it is, and the other one does a real quick connect hole, and on the screen it shows peak to peak voltage, frequency, duty cycle, and freezes it, holds it, beeps, hit it again, and it goes back. It's the best scope I have ever found for troubleshooting. And then, of course, this little guy down at the bottom here is a Agilent DC to, no, it's not DC. It's 100 kilohertz to 6 gigahertz vector frequency or synthesizer with 250 megahertz ARBs on each of the 2 channels, you know, the I and Q. And because I didn't know where to put it, that's a little tiny quadrifilar antenna for finding GPS signals. Underneath the bench is a rubidium time source, atomic time standard. So that antenna goes on that time standard. And then for those of you who are computer programmer types, okay, that's tens of hours, tens of minutes, tens of seconds and seconds, and it's in BCD. So it's 1, 2, 4, and 8. So the time is currently 3, 17, and 51 seconds.
Mark, they've got a little app that you can get that does that.
Oh, I have
the
it.
iPad. I have it.
Yeah, I have it on my
fun.
phone. Yeah, the funny thing is I had a manager back at Becton Dickinson, and that little clock right there I had in my lab. And there were very few people that could get into the lab because of the work we were doing. And she came in, I found her in there one day staring at that thing. And she was trying to figure out what it was. And I told her it's a clock. And I said, would you like me to explain to you how to read it? And she was very, you know, I'm better than everybody here, so I can do this. 3 years she stared at that little clock. I finally quit and took it with me. Started my own company again.
I used to take mine into the classroom when I was substituting, and it would give me a chance to get the kids interested, and then I could talk about binomial theory and the base of 2 and all that sort of thing. It was a lot of fun. It was quite an eye opener for them. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, this is probably the most useful thing in the lab. There's a little disc cone. That is a giant, like 6-inch long peak pearl eraser for big mistakes.
Hey, Mark, I have a
Anyway,
question for you. I have a
sure.
question for you. Are you getting a lot of your equipment off eBay, or any advice on getting some of more lab equipment at a reasonable price?
Reasonable? No. eBay best so far. For example, this voltmeter was actually the primary standard for one of the test equipment houses, micro precision calibration labs. They
Yeah.
closed an office. I got the thing with fresh calibration for, let's just call it a reasonable price. Not a good price, a reasonable price.
Well, you said 15,000, right?
Well, that's new.
Oh.
I know because when I was at Care Fusion, I bought a pair of them. I was given a very unique opportunity. I was a consultant, and they said they absolutely had to have me come work there. And my conditions were same in money as I was making as a consultant, and $1 million to build my own lab. And they did it. So I had a pair of those. Instead of the LaCroix, I couldn't afford the scope I had when I built that lab, but the scope was a 40 gigasample HP / Agilent / Keysight. It was Agilent back then.
Yeah.
Well,
What about
Mark, if you're done, can I share?
Sure. Well, I don't know. Hank, do you have something else?
I just have one more question. What about like your actually ESD bench there? I bought a bench recently from Uline, but it was pretty pricey. I think it was like over $1,000. But any
No.
thoughts on the
Yeah,
inexpensive bench? Yeah.
there's a place down in Mira Mesa that does right next to, they're like a block over from Marshall's Hardware. I think it's One Source. I'd have to remember. They send me emails now and again, but when somebody closes a lab, they go do all the salvage, all the surplus stuff. They had a ton of things from Qualcomm last time I was there, ESD benches. But I have that pair of benches. I'm resetting up, except I'm growing a decent sized ham capability in the next lab. And all this equipment will be there. Even that plant, which is not looking so good, but it's a lot taller. It'll be very happy when it can get out where it gets a little bit better sunlight and more attention. Oh, and then of course this thing, frequency counter, electronic load to go with the power supplies, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that's it. Any last questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
This
Oh,
is
yeah, go ahead.
This is John, KSK6IL. I heard a very similar story about that clock on the EE blog discussion somewhere recently. Was that you, perhaps?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
But that clock, it's from, it was actually a gift, a Christmas present. For the last 20 years, there's a group of us consultants that get together on Thursday nights. We're doing it remotely now. And we go do dinner and a movie. We've been doing it over 20 years now. And we wanted to get each other Christmas presents. Oh, yeah, there's the little Calvin leads for the RLC bridge. But we had to make it reasonable. So the deal is it's $20 limit for Christmas gifts. And that came from the Sharper Image. And it was like $15 one year. And I've used it for years and years to confound managers everywhere.
Mark, is that the IEEE consultants meeting there? They used to meet at the Italian restaurant?
No,
Convoy?
it's just a group. It's just a little group of us.
Yeah.
There was a little small group of us that helped build Pixis. And it's the original engineers that put Pixis together.
Nice.
And obviously all that's mine because I got tired of the fact that whenever I left a company, they kept my equipment. No sense of humor at all. They would never give it to me. So my solution is I just started buying it all myself. All right. Anything else? Thank you.
I have some stuff I can show.
Well,
Go ahead, Phil.
we'll
All
go to
right.
Phil next.
All
Because I
right,
got
Phil
this
K and
queued
IQ.
up.
I don't have anything I want to show with the camera, but I have
Oh.
a few things I can show with my screen.
Well, let me do this real quick.
All right, go ahead.
Because we ended on Mark's clock story. I have a clock story. I joined my normal 10 a.m. meeting today, and I was a little late, and the first thing they said was, actually it was 10:30 meeting. They said, "Joe, we're glad you're here. We need your brain. It's 10:36. What is that in percentage of the day?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can figure that out." So I figured it out. And then they said, "Hey, someone needs to make a clock." Oh, someone did. So that is the time in percentage of the day right now. We are 86.60% through our 24-hour period of this day.
It's programmable. You can put it as a countdown. You got to work faster because the day's almost over.
I don't know. This one isn't. This is just a website, percentclock.com. I haven't poked around. Maybe there's a way to add some variables to it or whatever. And then someone said, "Well, now wait, now we need a percentage of an 8-hour day." And so, of course, I pulled up Google, and yeah, people have actual analog clocks that have your 8-hour workday in percentage. So I thought that was amusing. Everything is out there.
Well,
Back
we got
to
enough
amateur
double D's
radio.
here. We can do that in hardware for you.
Right?
Yeah, no problem. That's not even a tough one.
Back to amateur radio. This is the June scope of this year. Since we're showing off what our ham shacks are, this is, well, at my other house. This is in my garage. So Glenn, I feel your pain. Too cold, too hot, whatever. So I've got a GoPro mount screwed to the back of the FTM 400 head unit, and that's double stick taped to the side of my desk. Got a little speaker there and the microphone. That's the camera mic version of the microphone. And then down underneath my desk, you see my Mac PC, my Mac computer there, tower. I've got the power supply and the FTM 400 transceiver unit mounted down there. And then just a vertical on a tripod on the roof, which is not there right now. It's down. I'm actually thinking of bringing it here to Palm Desert and putting it out on the balcony. And then just when I want to use it, I'll walk out there and stand it up. When I'm not using it, I'll lay it down. Or maybe I'll just strap it to the top of the umbrella on the little patio furniture set out there, and nobody will notice that, right?
How heavy is it?
The antenna?
Yeah.
It's just a dual band outdoor base antenna from HRO. Not very heavy at all.
I had a little Diamond 9000 little rotator that, for a car. And, they're only designed for a certain weight, but I had an ATAS 100 on the back of my pickup.
It's definitely not as heavy as an ATAS.
And I would use the little, it wasn't strong enough to hold that big antenna up. So I had it backwards at the back of the truck, and it would rotate forward and lay the antenna down on the rail of the truck. And then when you wanted it, you hit a button and it pulled it up straight. And then I had a guy wire that went to the front of the bed that would keep it from breaking it off when you were going along the freeway.
Nice.
And it worked for years and years and years until somebody slammed into the back of the pickup and broke it off.
Oh, that's a good idea, though.
It was great. I had a FT 847. Which is that all mode, all band satellite rig that Yaesu has.
Yeah.
And it was great. You could put it on FM 6 meters. When I was pissed off at the people at CareFusion, Pixis, I would drive into the back parking lot, set that thing up at 100 watts, tune it up and key it on FM. and I was doing the worked all car alarms.
All right. Okay. Phil, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, if I can share my screen here, let's see. First of all, for those of you interested in remote operation, I talked about this once at an in-person PARC meeting. This is my Kiwi SDR. This is a 0 to 32 megahertz direct sampling HF receiver. There are hundreds of these now on the net around the world. This is the one in my house. It's open to the general public. You can people read the URL at on the top line up here? kiwi.sdr.kniq.net, port 8073. Everybody's welcome to use it. It supports up to 4 users at once. Of course, I reserve the right to shut it down if I have to, but everybody's welcome to use it. I mean, it's only connected to a G5 RV in my house. But as everybody's probably found out by now, what matters is not what kind of antenna you've got. What matters is how much work you've done to get rid of all the local EMI sources. And I'm noticing new ones. I think there's some running Christmas lights next door. This is WWE on 5 megahertz at the moment, but it does work pretty well actually. I do a lot of just general SWLing with it. It can do single sideband. It can do synchronous AM. That's what SAM means. It can do a digital radio mondial, although there's very little of that on the air, and it can do CW and airband FM. So anyway, I thought this is actually one of the very nicest units on the market. It's self-contained. It just has its own web server inside, and like I said, you can support up to 4 users simultaneously with all the features. So anyway, anybody who wants to use this is welcome to use it. Let's see. And sad news today. I don't know if this was talked about before, but the Arecibo radio telescope collapsed earlier today. Or yesterday.
Oh God, I saw that.
Very sad. I mean, I never got a chance to go there and see the place. I used it once, but I never saw it. 6 years ago, when we were working on trying to rescue that old spacecraft that was flying by Earth, the guys used this to receive the signals, and they sent the signals, raw signals, to me, and I decoded and demodulated them and sent them back. I did all this work on a really good error detecting corrector. But then they sent me signals with a 30 dB signal noise ratio. It was like, why did they do all that work? But it actually came in handy when we also received the signals in Germany on a dish that was just a puny 20 meters diameter. Then my code actually came in handy. But God, Arecibo with that size, it was just incredible how strong the signals were. Anyway, that's let's see, that's what I have to show there.
So
Let me show.
You read down where they're not going to fix it.
Yeah, well, it doesn't look like they can.
It's unfixable at this point.
It's it's basically destroyed. I mean, I was hoping they could salvage the equipment in the feed system, but that's all now lying in pieces on the bottom of the dish, so that's not possible. It's really, really sad.
They didn't have money to maintain it, so they don't have money to rebuild it.
Exactly. So another thing I want to show, that's something I've been actually working on. This is, I may have mentioned this before, this is my multi-channel SDR. This is all software running on a single AirSpy R2, which is one of the broadband SDRs you can get now. It's just an unassuming little box. You put a antenna on one side and USB on the other side, and you can digitize 10 megahertz of spectrum simultaneously. So I have it receiving the entire 2 meter band right now. And there's one repeater. You see interesting things. There is exactly one repeater that's active right now on the 2 meter band. And I have a feeling I know who is probably on it. One thing I noticed is that almost all of the activity is accounted for by a very, very few people. And there's one guy who's like active all the time at 145.22, and you can probably guess who it is. It's Dennis, N6KI. But you see a lot of repeaters out there that just go idle for hours and hours. I mean, I've only been running this one about half an hour, but you can see the ones down at the bottom have been idle basically that whole time. And so, even on 2 meters, even in Southern California, we're really not using our spectrum very much. It's kind of sad, really.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
I go up the mountain and I'm worried about taking a repeater off the air and I'll leave it. And the whole time I'm sitting up in the repeater shed where I can hear all the repeaters,
Yeah,
there may be one QSO over the 4-hour period.
right, right. Nobody uses it. So it's kind of sad.
Yeah,
Really.
it's really sad.
Yeah, but I mean, this
And
is
now I've even lost all the Poway hams.
right.
They're playing with their own stuff on Mount Woodson instead of using ours.
Yeah, this is every channel. This is every FM channel on 2 meters that has been active in the last half an hour or so. The frequencies here are in this column. This is a very early prototype. I mean, the user interface is not meant to be flashy. I hate user interfaces anyway. That's another repeater. I haven't seen them yet on the list come up. Let me mute this.
Hey Phil, is this something that you wrote, or where is
Yeah,
this sort of software?
I've written all this. Yes. Yeah.
What do you? Is this Python, or what are you doing this in?
It's all in C. It's all in C. My real purpose here is to experiment with the use of IP multicasting to interconnect these modules. So this what you're seeing here is the display of a program that's just monitoring several local voice multicast groups in my LAN, which are coming out of another program, which is the actual radio receiver. And I can switch to that screen in a second here. Let's see, I'm only showing one window at a time. So let me stop sharing that one. And I will share screen with this one. Okay. Now this is a control for, okay, almost all those receivers that you just saw are fixed. I didn't configure control interfaces for them, but there's one that is controllable that I can tune around with as my manual receiver. And this is the front panel for that. And this is also controlled over a multicast interface. You can actually have multiple control heads, if you want to call them that, all controlling this, and it could be on any computer anywhere in my house. So, I mean, this is a pretty simple, bare bones front panel for a receiver. It happens to be tuned 144 megahertz at the moment, but I can tune anywhere within 10 megahertz and not disturb the other radios. So, yeah, I hate user interfaces. I don't feel like I have the skills to design user interfaces, but then I see ones out there and I feel like even I could do better than that. But my feeling about user interfaces is that, I hate them so much that I'll go out of my way to eliminate the need for one. In other words, rather than having a front end that will, a user interface that will select what channel I'm going to receive, why not just build a radio that can receive all of them at once? And then I don't have to do that front panel.
Yeah. Would you write this in, Phil? What's like, is this C also?
It's all C. It's all C. Yeah.
Okay.
That's using the N-Curses library, which is like 40 years old. It's in text mode. What's that?
So it's running, is this Linux?
It's running on Linux, yeah. I mean, what you're actually looking at here is a Mac, which I'm using my front end. So it'll run on a Mac as well, because Mac underneath is Unix. So it'll run on any generic Unix platform. It's written in C.
So it's nothing with X Windows. It's strictly the N cursors, you said?
It's N cursors, yeah. I mean, I'm using terminals in X Windows, but actually, no, I'm using terminal here on Mac OS, which is not X Windows. I thought about, doing it a QT version of the front end, but, I looked at the book and, oh my God, this is a lot to learn.
Yeah.
And
that's
I'm not
pretty
really
awesome,
sure.
man. That looks pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, you can move around here. You can do things like, you can keep the R frequency constant and move the LO around, so you can look, and that's a convenient way to detect if you've got spurs or images. You can move them around, stuff like that. So, my thing has always been building really good platforms and let somebody else worry about the user interfaces. I'm really worried. I really find it fun to build the stuff underneath. The chassis and the engines and the transmissions of the car. Let somebody else to worry about the body design. So anyway, Mark, this is what I want to put up on the hilltop. I mean, if you can give me a broadband antenna up there and some kind of internet link down, we'd have the capability to basically listen to an entire band at once. And with two air spies and two computers, you can listen to all 2 meters and all 7 centimeters at once.
Yeah, I talked to the guy who owns Valley Center Wireless, and I've got another meeting coming up with him probably tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I've gotten back onto trying to get us broadband up there.
Okay, and I'm happy to open this up. I mean, one of the things I've done from the very beginning is I don't want there to be any user limits on this. I mentioned with the the Kiwi SDR, you're limited to 4 users at once. Here, I'm consciously designed to make this unlimited. You can have any number of users listening to any number of channels. So it scales up very nicely. In fact, I see this as a prototype for the digital transponder that Michelle and ORI are working on. I mean, this is exactly the model I think we should have. It's a whole bunch of narrowband uplinks, all feeding one big fat pipe coming down. And so that you can be listening to any number of these that you want. I didn't point out that on my audio screen. Let me bring that back up again here. On the audio window, you notice how I have right now all of the channels are muted. I can vary the volume here, but they're all muted. But there's notice this column marked pan that has all zeros in it. Well, I can move. For some reason, it's not working when I'm sharing it with. That's funny. For some reason, I'm sharing this window through Zoom. It's not letting me use my normal keys. Anyway, there's a stereo pan feature. So when you have multiple active channels, you can pan them around the stereo spectrum. So you can be listening to several conversations or uplinks at once and have them come from a different point in the stereo spectrum, using a headphone. So my thinking here is you can have a round table and actually have several people talking at once and kind of like, try to stimulate actually being at a table with several people in front of you who are speaking from different directions. I thought that would be a cool feature to have.
That would. We could be moving our head side to side.
Well, yeah.
And pointing at, looking at the person on the screen.
I suppose. Yeah, but I came up with this idea. I don't think, actually, as it turns out, I don't think it's original. I think some airline audio panel or airplane audio panels and cockpits already have this feature, since they often have to work with multiple radios and have to monitor more than one frequency at once. But I thought that would be a cute feature, especially for a round table. I do notice that, when you have a lot of channels active at once, I mean, your brain can only follow so many of them at once. But, I rarely see more than about half a dozen channels active, even during prime time. It's rare to see more than 6 channels actually keyed up all at one time. The one time I see maybe up to 10 or 12 is on the hour and half hour, because a lot of repeaters seem to key up at those times and identify and give the time. So in the middle of the night, every half hour in the middle of the night, a whole bunch of repeaters come up, and then they ID and then they drop. And then it's another half hour silence.
So do you have any theories on why nobody's using the repeaters anymore?
Well, I mean, we all have lots of theories about that. I mean, the internet and cell phones have displaced a lot of what used to be the demand for these things. I mean, I can tell you about back when I was in Cornell back in the 70s, a friend and I, built a repeater. We resurrected one. We built a repeater. I built the control system out of crystal current relays. You remember those? And I was so proud of that little thing. And the fact that we had an auto patch. And I would go around showing my non-ham student buddies, hey, look, I can make phone calls walking around campus. And they'd all look at me funny and say, well, what's wrong with the phone in your room, right? It's a little different now.
Yeah.
So, we got to find something that makes ham radio interesting to young people. And it ain't going to be talking around the world, and it ain't going to be talking on the phone either.
Well, I heard Charlie shared that there are a group in Poway that are doing net on Monday nights, and they're doing nice presentations in that they're actually running the net over the repeater, but any slides and stuff they have are on a Facebook or something, so that the participants can they're all seeing the same thing on the screen, but they have to interact on the radio.
That's good. That's a good start.
Yeah.
I mean, I still hear formal nets being run on repeaters, and they seem kind of antiquated to me. They'll break people can break for emergency traffic and all. I mean, come on, when was the last time somebody made an emergency traffic call on ham radio? On a 2-meter repeater of all things. I mean, it sounds. Just think about how that sounds to a typical high school student you're trying to interest in ham radio.
But in Poway, they do that as exercises several times a year.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
They demonstrate that it can be effective that way. So.
What bothers me a little bit there is, we have something we didn't have back then, which are all these cool linked repeaters. But how are they being linked? They're being linked over the internet. Well, if we're claiming we can do emergency communications, what's that, what do we do when the internet goes down?
We're dead.
We're dead, right? One of the things we're trying to do through ARDC, as some of you know, I'm the president of, is we're trying to fund the development of backbones that can try to transfer some of this stuff back to ham channels. I would love to see backbones like AR-EDN used routinely to link repeaters, so we don't have to be dependent on the commercial internet to do this sort of stuff, that we can actually do what we say we can do when there's an emergency, that we can do it all on ham frequencies. Then it actually becomes interesting again. So I don't know. I'm going off my soapbox here, but I think a lot of you probably had similar thoughts.
Hey guys, I need to hop off the call, but great to meet all of you, and I'll see you in the next meeting, and I'll talk to you guys on the radio.
Take care. Thanks.
Thanks a lot. Have a good one. Bye.
All right. Great, Phil. Thanks for sharing that.
Sure thing.
Any other, we're actually at the little past the top of the hour here, a little after 2100. Any other comments, questions people want to share?
I have a question that given the visit up to the repeater site, Mark, you and John did, and the email we got today from SDG&E said they may shut down the power up there because of fire damage. And that's, in some places, that's been a several-day thing.
Fire damage or fire avoidance?
Fire avoidance, yes,
yeah.
fire avoidance.
They call them public safety shutoffs, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, fire danger.
If they shut us off, and we're using more than we used to.
Yeah, but what we're using is mostly that new 220 repeater that went in, and that's plugged into 115 volts.
Oh, so it's off
not
anyway.
It's not part of our system. So the 220 repeaters will all shut off. The our repeaters, which is actually John for some I don't know why, but he plugged the 6-meter repeater into 115. But the 3 2-meter repeaters, the 440 repeaters, and the ECRA repeaters are all running on 48 volts. And I guess if you want, I can pull up the little spreadsheet showing what they're drawing. Does anybody care?
Well, one question I have is, given what I just showed, it sounds like the best standby current drain is probably more important than the transmit current drain. What is that? How long would they last?
Now you see, you're gonna make me pull up the sheet, because
You can't answer it off
to
the
be
top of
honest
your
with
head.
you, pardon me.
Because you don't have it all floating on the top of your head, all those answers.
Yeah, because I don't have it all memorized. But give me a second.
I'm just wondering, how long would it last on standby? Hours, days, weeks?
Weeks.
Weeks, really?
We were looking at weeks for activity. Like we were looking at, I think we were looking at.
We don't draw that much even when we're active.
I think we were looking at 2 weeks the last time we did the math of increased usage. So expecting that in an emergency situation where there's a massive power outage, we would be live for 2 weeks with increased usage.
Wow, you're one of the best prepared repeater groups around.
Right?
Not that long, yeah.
It's a huge amount of batteries.
I've seen those batteries, yeah, but 2 weeks, wow.
We're better than the cell phone towers.
Yeah. There we go.
Okay, where did my picture go? Are you guys seeing a spreadsheet?
Yeah, I'm seeing it, yeah. Standby 2.6 amps at 48 volts.
So it's the ones that say DC.
Yeah.
Because the AC ones are included in this calculation also.
Oh, reflected back to DC?
Yeah, the worst one is the KA6KD.
KA6KD.
If you look at that thing, it draws 460 watts when the transmitter comes on.
Oh, yeah. What does it mean? KK6KD Mexico 220. What does that mean?
That's the Mexican Ham Club.
Oh, they put it up on your hill? Okay.
Yeah, we're hosting them along with ECRA and for example, there's the ECRA for 147 It's funny, they had a 200-watt linear, and I just simply told them to take it out of the building. They're
Yeah.
not allowed to run 200 watts with great
Yeah.
big high gain antennas. We can saturate all the way down. We've got plenty of power. Our problem is curvature of the earth, but
Yeah.
we get people down in Mexico that hear these repeaters.
Yeah. Oh, the
But,
standby drain's pretty high too. 90 watts for a repeater on standby.
again, you're talking about KK6D.
Yeah.
No, I thought you were looking at the row number 5. Is that what you said? 90 watts.
Well, actually, looking at row number 1 just stood out. 90 watts is the largest standby power.
It's plugged into 115.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not going to stay up.
No, these ones that are DC, those are the ones that are going to stay up.
Okay. Oh, so the standby current amps for D2 is not 48 volt amps. That's this AC amps.
Amps are still amps. The 48 volt ones are the same color as the 115 volt ones.
Yeah.
It's just half the wattage.
Oh, okay. All right. I mean, well, I mean, if they're not coming off the batteries, it hardly matters.
Right. That's the point. They're not coming
Yeah.
off the batteries.
Okay.
And I didn't break it down separately.
I see.
I actually did this spreadsheet on my tablet and carried it around to the different repeaters as I was making the measurements.
Okay, because you were counting all these up. So what you actually should have is a column for AC amps and a column for DC amps. All right, now I understand. Okay.
Yeah, one of the interesting things is to look at this one, which is one power supply that has 147.075 and 130 on it, both.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is we had to key both repeaters, and we couldn't get them to both come on. But you'll notice 7.3 is by itself up here. And when it transmits, it draws 84 watts.
Yeah.
This one with 2 repeaters is only, 8 watts different. And again, just 6 watts different when one of the repeaters keys. And it's the reason why is most of the standby wattage, if you look at this is 2 repeaters draws 32. 1 repeater draws 24. So it's telling me the repeaters themselves are only drawing about 8 watts when they're received.
As I recall, they're all the same model repeater, aren't they? All the same Yaesu repeaters?
Yes. So, except for the ECRA.
Yeah. The 2 meter repeaters are all
what
the
this
same.
is telling me is 16 watts of this is actually the switching power supply.
Ah, I see.
So actually our biggest load is the switchers.
Yeah,
that
it sounds like
convert the 54 volts down to 13.8.
yeah, they may be too big. Are they overrated? What's the rating?
Well, they're not the most efficient. I mean, for a switcher, they're not the most efficient in the world. They were there when I took the job back over again.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I went in and swept them with a spectrum analyzer, and they're good and quiet, which was like the most important thing.
That is the most important thing. Yeah.
They have little bitty fans in them, so they stay cool even when you're running them hard.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, they're not quite as efficient, but keep in mind, I actually found our batteries on a website, and I want you to know that when they die, we can't afford to replace them.
I figure you couldn't. No.
But
I mean, each one of those cells is what, 2,000 amp hours, if I recall correctly?
No, they're 1,380, if I remember correctly.
1,380. All right. 2 volts each. Yeah.
Hey, Mark, got a question for you.
Yeah.
So if it's 48 volts, do you have to run 4 radios in series to get that down?
Yeah, well, that's one way to do it. Sure, why not?
Smart ass.
That's better than being a dumbass. Yeah, why not? Sure, just run 4 of them and 4 of them together. Anyway, no, like I said, as you can see from the spreadsheet, this is just the raw data that I took on the mountain.
Yeah.
As you can see from the little spreadsheet, those little guys, out of the 24 watts that we're drawing standby, 8 watts of that is repeater, apparently, and 16 of it is the power supply.
Yeah.
But given that we've got 1,300 amp hours at 54 volts.
So that works out to about 66 kilowatt hours. Am I doing that right? The battery capacity?
I don't know.
If you suck it all the way down, which you don't want to do. Well, I'd multiply by 48. I mean, the discharge voltage is going to be lower than 54. So I used 48. It works out to 62,
right.
66.24 or something like that. But you don't really want to use all that. That would definitely shorten the life of the batteries.
Well, 1380 times.
Things get out of hand. Now they're talking all about battery voltage and backup and so forth. Power mark.
Says we got about 75 kilowatt hours.
Yeah, that's not real, but.
And we're using probably around 10 and let's just say these average to 3 times 30, so that's 100 watts. So take that number.
330 hours, which is about half a week, I think, isn't it? 720 hours in a week.
Well, I get 745 hours.
Well, it depends on, I mean, I use the lower voltage. When you discharge them, they're going to, terminal voltage is going to drop to about 48.
Okay, so 745 hours.
Yeah. Divide by 206 hours on standby.
Wait,
220 hours.
206?
Did you say that it's
divide by
about 2 weeks? Yeah.
Is that a single string of batteries?
Yes, it's a single string in series.
Okay, because the way I calculated it is if you got 1,380 amp hours and you're drawing about 5 amps DC, I'm coming up with 280 hours ish. What am I doing wrong?
Well, I don't think his total
kilowatts
power is correct here.
No, I was just looking at the standby current. Oh wait, never mind. That's transmit current. So yeah, never mind. I see my mistake.
And also you can't include the ones that are AC.
No, I just added the DC.
Yeah.
My problem is I was using the transmit current. So
It's only, so the answer is about 2 weeks for standby. That's pretty good.
And
on the order of, yeah.
Like close to a week transmitting solid.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Not bad.
Yeah, so last time we did these calculations was a few repeaters ago. So yeah, we're
And
still
of course,
doing better than the cell
that's
towers.
assuming that during that 2-week period, I don't drive up there with one of the 3 huge generators that I have, one of which I'm going to donate to the club. But when you look at that, why do we need it?
Right.
Yeah, well,
And pump current into the battery bank.
the modern way is to use solar panels, but yeah, I know there are trees up there. So
The modern way is if you'll donate the solar panels, we'll put them up there. But
yeah, but
I don't have solar panels to give away.
have you cut back the trees? I mean, they're all going to be shadowed if.
One area is pretty bad, but keep in mind that we face to the south.
We do face the south, yes.
The generator building, as we call it, or the cinder block building where the battery banks are.
Yeah.
That building gets sun pretty much all the time. There aren't trees that shade it.
Okay. The last time I was up there was at one time 4 years ago. So I don't know whether you've done any tree trimming since then.
No, we've got one tree that really needs trimming because it's starting to shadow the tower heading due west towards Oceanside.
Oh, blocking RF. Yeah.
It's yeah, it's starting to screw up our signal. It's getting really good and healthy and very green.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was one of the little tiny baby trees that Stan planted, and
Yeah.
it's now taller than the tower.
They have a way of doing that.
So that one's kind of an issue for us.
Yeah.
But the battery building isn't really shadowed.
Yeah.
So yeah, we could throw a few panels on it, but I don't have any panels that I want to give away.
Yeah.
But I do have a spare generator I'm not using.
That's actually funny you mentioned that, Mark. We've been getting emails to the treasurer email address about our SDG&E account is eligible for a pretty hefty discount on a generator through the end of the year. So I'll be talking to the board about that next week. Maybe getting one. I don't know. It's
Oh, is that because it's in one of these public safety shut-off areas?
Yep.
Good
Yeah,
idea.
One of the
I get 'em.
generators that's available is a nice dual fuel, gasoline and LP, with no conversions. It's just like it'll run off either one. You just plug in whichever one you
Oh,
want to run
LP is
off.
the way to go because LP will last a long time, right?
Right, and you connect up whatever tank you get. So you
Right.
you know
I
get
mean,
a
not
nice
like
big,
gasoline goes bad sitting in a tank. The LP will last for a while, won't it?
yeah, get a nice big LP tank up there, and
Yeah.
there's no automation on the start of it, so it would require a trip
Oh.
up the mountain. But still,
No, can't buy
Well,
one.
actually, one of the
remote
other
start?
ones they have, because I live in the same area, and I believe they had a gen rack. But you know, when you look at the possibility of us needing it more than a couple of weeks, I can just drag a generator up in the pickup, fill it with my gasoline, and because I don't drive my gas cars anymore, you know, all I drive is the electric one. The truck still has gas that I put in it in February.
Yeah.
So I put stable in the fuel.
Right. Otherwise,
It's-
it'll go bad.
Yeah, and stable is now they're rating it for 2 years.
Really?
wow.
Okay.
And I filled it up in February. It's got about 3/4 of a tank
Huh.
left.
Hey, you should be able, you know, and drive up there in your EV. You should be able to if you can load up your car with rocks or water or something on the way down, you should be able to pay for the trip.
Yeah, you know, I was thinking about that. If I drive it up empty,
Right. Right.
and then you know that
Oh,
You
and I
cut.
fill it all up with water,
Right. Right.
and then I drive it down. Right now with it empty, you know, with just test equipment in it, and I drive it up to the back down again. I used all total life of the battery.
Yeah.
It's
So
pretty bad. It's like 37% going up, but then I get 36% of it back coming back down.
yeah. Yeah. That's the Model X you got, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Model X is not as energy efficient as the smaller ones. So we have an X2. It's my wife's car now. But yeah, I
All
had
right.
that idea early on when I went up there. I wanted to try that.
Yeah, I don't have any pictures of mine up there, but I can put up in a minute. I can put up a picture of mine was in being repaired. So I had a black one, a black Model X
Yeah.
loaner from Tesla. And they said they were really interested in what it does when it's out of the shop. So I took a couple of pictures, and Tesla service is now using them as screensavers in their machines at their office.
Hey,
So
I'm
let
seeing
me-
packet traffic on your packet repeater right now, 14670. That's your repeater, right?
Yeah,
What's it used for? I'm seeing traffic on it.
not much. So thank God somebody's on it.
It's coming out of XE2 BNC.
Wasn't that still Rich and the Aries people, or is it?
I don't recognize the traffic. It looks like a lot of binary in it.
Yeah, they're doing wind.
Yeah, that's a packet repeater.
Oh, it's WinLink stuff? Oh, okay. Okay.
Hey, Joe, have you actually officially closed the meeting, or what is the status here?
Oh, that's a good question. So it is after 2100. It's oh my goodness, it's almost 2130. So yeah, let's go ahead and officially call it the meeting is over. And this is just if you want to stick around and hear Mark and Phil rag chew and chime in if you have any questions, feel free. We're here until Mark kicks us out.
Hey, Steve's not here. Where's Steve? Steve Palmer. Well, he and I are usually the ones that go on for hours after these meetings are over.
Yeah, Steve's not here.
So thank you all, and see you in January. Happy
next year,
holidays, and
likewise.
See you next year.
Take care.
Thank you.
73.
Enjoy it. Merry Christmas.
Merry
Good night.
Christmas.
I know why that picture wasn't there. I didn't add it. So it should pop up here in just a second.
You know, I'd never seen a telescope up there. I should probably go up there and visit before it falls apart.
Oh, you're talking about the Mount Palomar Observatory?
Yeah, yeah. I've been in San Diego 30 years now. I should have been up there at least once.
Well, I'm sorry. It will appear right here. There's one.
Okay, yeah.
See that building in the front, in the background right there?
Yeah.
That is the battery building.
Right. I remember that. But look at all those
Out
trees around. I
towards the
mean,
front.
you really get full sun all day long with all those trees?
No, you don't. But you get a lot of sun, especially in the afternoon. I can tell that's in the morning because
Yeah.
this tree is partially shading it.
Yeah.
The other one is anyway. This is one of their loaners. A
Yeah,
loaner
it didn't look
model
like your car. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it looks a lot like mine, except mine's white.
Right. Right.
But anyway, this gets plenty of light there.
Well, I mean, it would actually take a lot of panels to supply the total power budget, but it would certainly help extend what you've got. The rule of thumb for San Diego is you get about 20% of a panel's rating on an average basis. So, you know, a 100 watt panel will give you 20 watts on a 24/7 basis with batteries on average around a year.
Oh, on a 24/7.
On a
Okay.
24/7 basis for a whole year. I mean, you'll get more in the summer, less in the winter, of course.
Yeah, I was going to say I added a new weather station on my property,
Yeah.
and among other things, well, I can pull it up, but anyway, among other things, it measures sun wattage in watts per square meter.
Yeah.
And right now, you know, it's not the time of year.
No.
And the sensor is straight up vertical.
Yeah.
And I'm getting about 460 watts per square meter.
That sounds about right.
In the middle of the day.
That sounds about right. What's your elevation?
1,500. Well, 1,482 feet.
Yeah, you're going to do better than at sea level. Less air, less haze.
I'll do even more gooder on top of the mountain.
Yeah.
I went to Google Project Rooftop or whatever it is. They haven't pointed their stuff at Palomar yet. I just went to check.
What is that, Joe?
Let's see. Google Project Sunroof it explore your estimated solar potential of your community.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Now, we were running both, battery and mains. So John wore his AC/DC t-shirt that day.
Let's see. All right, let me enter my address, see what I see, because I already have panels here. Oh, I see what they're showing. Yeah, okay. The color coding indicates total amount of sunlight.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's pretty much, the area that shows brightest on my roof is where I already have panels.
Yep. I've got a bunch of panels on my roof, and I actually have 5 more panels coming in the next couple of weeks because they didn't quite estimate us correctly. So
yeah.
So what was the name of that website?
Project Sunroof.
Yeah, just Google Project Sunroof. I think it's google.com/get/sunroof.
Yeah. That's it.
Or maybe even, /sunroof will get you there.
Oh, it's telling me I have 1,871 hours usable sunlight per year based on day-to-day analysis of weather patterns and 1,938 square feet available for solar panels based on 3D modeling my roof and nearby trees. Okay.
Nice.
Well, we
Yeah, I
did
do
drop
have
a
a tree I
tree in
need
front
to
of our
cut
house,
down.
a big palm tree a couple of years ago because it was on the south corner of the lot and starting to shadow my solar panels. And it was
Yeah, I
I
have.
thought it was also presenting a hazard.
Yeah, I have to, I have a large eucalyptus that I cut down once before,
Mhm.
but they really are like weeds.
They are. They definitely are. And they're fire hazards.
Well, unfortunately, I've still got about 75 of them left.
Yeah.
Figures it's the nice thing about living out in the country. Sorry, Project Sunwood hasn't reached that address yet.
Yeah.
Bummer.
Huh. You think this could be automated?
Would think.
Interesting. Your recommended solar installation size, 2.0 kilowatts. Well, guess what? That's exactly how much my panels produce right now.
At night?
Not at night. No.
Damn, they're good.
93% of our electricity usage. I don't think it realizes we have 2 Teslas.
Oh, that'll kill it.
Of course, we haven't paid anything for electricity in quite some time. We're still spending down the EV credit we got from SDG&E a year ago for our 2 cars.
Well, I was fortunate enough, like your first one, that I got mine when they were still giving out free electricity.
Yeah.
I bought the second to the last one.
Oh, you mean free supercharger electricity, you mean?
Free supercharger for life.
Yeah. Oh, you see, there's now a new V3 station. The first one in San Diego is open at Balboa and Balboa and Genesee, which is right across the street from the Home Depot I use.
What, you mean Tesla?
Yeah, Tesla supercharger. Yeah. It's the first V3 site. It can do 250 kilowatts, although I doubt very many cars can actually.
Where?
It's at the southeast corner of Genesee and Balboa. Which is not far from us.
I went to the one down in Chulawana.
That's the new
about
one
a
I've
month
not
ago.
been to because it's not close to us.
It's a 250 kilowatt charger.
Right. And what's interesting is the cable is lighter and more flexible than the normal 150s. Why?
Yeah,
because
you know
there's
why,
water
don't
cooling
you?
in the cable.
Yeah, it's water cooled.
Yeah.
So did I tell you guys about the mistake I made when I was designing a automated welding system for the crash shields on the jet engines of the Boeing 777? There's a 2219 aluminum shield that goes around the blades of the jet engine.
The
I was
cowling?
doing this robotic, pardon me?
This is called the cowling. Is that it?
No, it's inside the cowling.
Oh, okay.
It's an 1.5 inch thick aluminum shield,
Uh-huh.
and it's hardened 2219 aluminum.
Sounds heavy.
Well, it's not light. but it's
Well, it's
better
supposed
than
to
having
contain the blades that they break.
yeah, yeah. The idea is to, those are titanium blades.
Right, right.
And the idea is to keep the blade from going through the body of the aircraft
Yeah,
if it comes apart.
right, right.
So, and 2219 hardens quite nicely.
Yeah,
It's not, 6061,
right.
which hardens pretty nicely also, but it's a lot softer.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I designed this big Miller 3-phase robotic welding system that went back and made multiple passes. And filled in with it was a wire-fed TIG.
Mm-hmm.
So it had a wire feeder off the side of a TIG torch.
Yeah.
And it was 600 amps. I was running about 350 amps at about 13 volts. You
Yeah.
set the voltage by the height of the TIG torch.
Right.
Anyway,
what was the gas?
it was aluminum, so it was mostly helium.
Okay.
You could use helium and argon for aluminum.
Uh-huh.
No CO2, which
Right.
people are used to 2% CO2 for doing steel.
The aluminum will probably decompose it.
Yeah. Anyway, it was at the time I think I was running argon. Anyway, my problem was that I had set up all this, and you guys who program know this. I had set up all this automation so that it did this and it did this and it did this and it did this. Had a nice little sequence, but I was calibrating the meters, the remote meters on the welder. So I put a big honking block of aluminum up on the table as a thermal well and was just sitting there dumping current into it.
Yeah.
And the first time I tried it, we had a little accident. That was, you tweak the meters, and you never look over at the bench at this 4-inch thick block of aluminum that was about 8 by 8 inches. And you can pour enough heat into it, and the aluminum just melts, runs down the table and all along the floor.
Right.
You end up with molten aluminum all over the lab.
Right.
And then I found out, because all the welders had done it, that your punishment is they hand you a chisel, and you got to chisel the aluminum off the concrete on the floor.
There's no chance the aluminum catching fire?
No, it just, what happens is the aluminum melts, and when it runs off the table, it lengthens the arc length so long, the arc extinguishes, and all you got to deal with is not walking in the molten aluminum.
Yeah.
Which, you don't do that very long.
Flammable metal fire would be worse. Yeah. Okay.
That was one of two mistakes. The other mistake was turning on the torch without engaging the water cooling first.
Yeah.
And it works really good for about 30 seconds.
Yeah, then melts.
Again, small wire at 300 amps.
Right.
And then pretty soon, it starts to look like one of those sprinklers. There's geysers every few inches along the cable back to the torch.
Yeah.
Where you get the smoke, it flashes the water to steam.
Yeah.
And it builds up pressure and just blows the thing apart all over the place.
Yeah.
See, you get all these nice little teapot whistling teapots all along your cable.
Jeez. Yeah.
So you only make those mistakes once. Oops.
Yeah, you learn. Yeah.
Yeah. It worked. Eventually we got it working just fine. And then they asked me to help them out on some of the space shuttle engines, welding titanium.
Yeah.
So, it was fun. Keeps me off the streets, out of the bars.
Well, as much fun as this is, I'm going to go be with my family.
Oh, I see why it's so poor here. I see the shadow of the tree we dropped years ago. That's why. I'm looking on Google's Project Sunroof. This must be old data. Yeah, because I can see the shadow of the palm tree that we dropped years ago was in the south corner of our lot, and that was shadowing our house. No wonder it's so poor. Okay.
All right. Good night.
All right.
Mark,
All right.
it's
Good
up
night,
to
Joe.
you how long you let people hang out.
Yeah.
Well, I try and appease everyone and let them do what they need to do. But if you guys have had your fill, I will shut this off and I forgot to turn off the streaming.